Hello, viewers. You're watching the Lloyd Evans channel. Well, even though it says John Cedars, I'm trying to get used to calling it the Lloyd Evans channel because, look, I've been calling it John Cedars for years. I need to ease myself in here. So please excuse me if it's a little bit confusing. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome JWsurvey's survey editor, Sherrie D'Souza. Welcome, Sherrie.
Hello. I'm very well, thank you.
It's insane o'clock, isn't it, in Australia, as usual?
It's 6 a.m. It's bright and early. Well, actually, it's not bright. It's quite overcast and wet outside. But
no one has any right to be doing anything at 6 o'clock, as far as I'm concerned. So, but yeah, we thought we would do a live stream just to go through the 2019 survey results and just a little bit of background. You might be wondering, why the 2019 survey results at the end of 2020? Basically, how can I put it? It's not easy balancing all the different plates when it comes to activism. And with JWsurvey, Sherrie very kindly agreed to take over with the survey editor role. However, Sherrie has also been very busy working on the Truth About the Truth post-production because we've needed transcripts for all of the dozens of interviews that we've done as a result of that project. So it's just been one of those things where we've had to kind of juggle a lot of plates. So here we are at the end of 2020 reviewing the results for 2019, and if I'm not mistaken, Sherrie, we hope that it won't be long, maybe a few weeks, before we can go over the 2020 results.
Yes, definitely. As I prepared for this live stream, I've had a sneak peek at the 2020 results, and yeah, I think we've had over 2,000 respondents thus far. The data's looking very interesting. So yeah,
this is the thing. I mean, I vividly remember from the years that I was managing the survey, you know, the whole reason why we called it, or I called it, JWsurvey is for this reason, because of the global survey, because I wasn't just interested in what my opinions were. I wanted some way of seeing at a glance whether there was any kind of consensus when you just made it possible for both current and former witnesses to all share their opinions online. And what that produces, well, two things. First of all, it's an opportunity for people who are completely unfamiliar with the arguments against Jehovah's Witnesses to be confronted with them in question format. So they're being confronted with questions saying, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And they've maybe never even thought of them before. But because they're being asked about them, it's an opportunity to start thinking about them. And secondly, it does throw up some interesting anomalies, doesn't it, the survey, which we're going to go through today.
Yes, I think one of the other things the survey offers is an opportunity for people who are normally silenced and don't have a voice to have a voice and to express how they feel about different topics. So I often get comments that completing the survey was cathartic and a little bit healing, to just get out what you feel about different topics. So it accomplishes quite a number of purposes, I feel, the survey does.
Indeed. So I think what we're going to do, I'm going to try, I hate doing these bloody screen shares, but let's see if I can get the survey results up, and we will be making them available as a PDF download once this stream has ended. So we're looking now at the results, and
so that's question number one. I think the only thing to note is record number, Lloyd, 7,180.
Yeah, 180. Obviously, because we haven't been promoting the 2020 survey, it's very unlikely that we'll exceed 7,000 for 2020. But you know, there's still a couple of weeks remaining, aren't there? So perhaps if you're watching this and you haven't yet voted in the 2020 survey, we will be making again a link available below. Or if you just want to hop on over to jwsurvey.org, there should be a link there as well. Yeah. So what part of the world are you from? You know, unsurprisingly, a large chunk from North America. but fairly evenly spread as well in different parts of the world, which is good considering that the survey is only currently available in English.
Yes, that's right. And that seems to be consistent across all surveys, that we get a similar representation each year. I've taken the opportunity to compare 2019 against 2018 to just start to track any trends.
Sure. Now, was there a particular question you wanted to, or set of results you wanted to draw our attention to, Sherrie?
Well, I think first off, what I'd like to just mention to everyone, because we do get some FAQs, some frequently asked questions. One is that when you look at the PDF results, you might think that questions are being repeated, but they're actually not. What you won't know, because the PDF results don't show you, is that the survey branches depending on your answer.
Yeah.
So if we look at question 4, which is describe your current relationship with Jehovah's Witnesses, whether you're active, you go to meetings, you've ceased, you've been disfellowshipped. At this point, the survey branches, and it gives you the questions that are relevant to how you've responded.
And that makes sense, because if for example you answer that you're an elder, for example, if you answer that you're not an elder, it wouldn't make sense to then be bombarded with questions that are specific to elders and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as we go through this, I think that's an important thing for everybody to just sort of bookmark in your mind, that these questions do branch.
Sure. But we have there, a decent, obviously, most of them they're saying cease to be, currently disfellowshipped, disassociated. But there are some saying, I'm an active Jehovah's Witness. What are those other? I'm an active Jehovah's Witness, but I'm not yet baptized. I go to Jehovah's Witness meetings. So a combined 10%, or 11%, I think, of responses from people who are either active or attending meetings.
Just shy of 700 people out of the 7,000, which I just find amazing. And remember this, everyone, because as we go through the survey, you will see that they're legit. They are actually active witnesses. You can tell from
according to how they're answering certain questions. Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. Yes, the next set of questions really are the branch for questions for those never baptized. So what the relationship is. Interesting little bits and opinions. I think question 6, Lloyd, on your opinion on the beliefs of Jehovah's Witnesses. Out of this group, never baptized, good 76% believe that it's a cult and that the beliefs are deeply flawed. But you then get these little oh my goodness, I can't say that word this morning. Anomalies. Oh dear.
Easy for you to say, Sherrie.
Well, it's not easy to say. Where people will say, I would like to be one of them. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah.
And
we include that question. Some might think that that's just a means of getting extra votes, but we have to account for the fact that not everyone who takes part in the survey whose life has been touched by this group will necessarily have been baptized. What if, for example, you're a 14-year-old living with JW parents and you're attending all the meetings, you're just not baptized yet? So we have to account for those sorts of people. And what we see here when we look at this breakdown is that quite a number, these are genuine. These people are genuinely affected by the group. They're not just people who are just trying to skew the figures for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And when you move to the next question, again, remembering that these are people who've never been baptized. Have you ever suffered breakdown of family connection? And that's 62% are saying yes. And they're not baptized. So yes, this religion has an enormous impact on people. Indeed. Following is about reasons for becoming inactive or fading, which is that's those responses are very similar to the year before. The stats are pretty much the same.
Sure. So quite consistently you get, I can no longer preach about something that I don't believe in my heart. I no longer believe that Jehovah's Witnesses are the one true religion. I discovered the real truth about Jehovah's Witnesses, which isn't what the leadership tends to teach when it comes to their approach to inactive ones. Their approach is more like, here towards the bottom, I am spiritually weak. You're only going to be inactive if you're spiritually weak. Well, that only makes up for 1.7% of those who answered in that category.
Yeah, there's only a very small percentage that did indicate I've strayed and I need to return home to Jehovah. And I sincerely hope that completing the survey has given them something to really think about as to the harms of the religion. So yeah, some very interesting responses. Then, of course, the following: are you remaining inactive through fear of being shunned if you leave the organization? And not surprisingly, 43%. Oh, sorry. 54%. Oh my goodness.
No, 43.5% said yes, which is a good chunk, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Which is not, again, it's not surprising that is what you'd be seeing. We've now moved into another branch too, by the way, everyone. This is now questions for those that said they were inactive or fading. So we're not talking about those never baptized anymore. So yeah, very. What else can you say? The following question, though: if shunning relatives were abolished, would you formally leave the organization? And 70% have said yes.
Yeah,
they would leave if it wasn't an issue.
Captive organisation is, I think, how it was described at the Australian Royal Commission.
Yes, that's
very
right.
much so. Very much so.
Following question is just on memorial attendance.
Yeah.
That there are still ones that attend the memorial. But question 12, this again was something that the Royal Commission did pick up on. If you experience preemptive shunning, who view you as bad association, and 72% have said yes, that they do experience that.
Well, this is the problem. There's a spectrum of shunning.
That's right.
It's important. I tried to stress that in my own evidence, that it's not a simple case of talking about people who are disfellowshipped and disassociated. You can be shunned even if you're attending meetings. If you're not attending enough meetings, or you're not doing enough preaching, or you're in some other way considered to be bad association. So. Yep,
that's right. It can happen. Well, in most cases, it does happen. Question 13 is a tragic question, but have you experienced family marital problems through your decision to become inactive or fade? And 61% have said yes.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
Which is really, really sad, but again, not
and
surprising.
Of course, this is the sort of thing that has an impact on mental health, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, when you have family marital problems. Yeah.
It's just so problematic. Question 14 is now another branch. This is for individuals who said that they were disfellowshipped or disassociated. So next few questions are for that group, where we ask if they attended a judicial committee.
I'd love to know what some of the answers were for other. Please specify.
Oh, well, yeah, which I can't. I've got the survey up, actually, so I can perhaps...
Because people are allowed, when it says please specify, they can comment below, can't they? But yeah,
yes, they can.
And they do give you details, yeah.
Oh, they do. And I must confess that sometimes I'm quite overwhelmed by seeing something like, 400 responses. You're like, oh, heavens.
But interesting that over 100 people here have said, I wasn't invited to one, but was disfellowshipped anyway.
Yes. Which, hey, I now tick that box, so... Yeah.
Indeed, yeah, you can speak to that experience, yeah.
That's it, exactly. So here's one of those responses, Lloyd, and just to reassure everybody, this is, of course, completely anonymous. There is nothing to identify anyone.
We don't publish any personal detail. In fact, we don't save personal details.
We don't even ask for it. That's it. But one of the respondents says that they were invited to one. They declined to attend. It was announced that they were no longer a Jehovah's Witness the following Tuesday evening without being notified. The individual found out it was announced 24 hours after the announcement from an elderly sister in a different congregation who had heard it through gossip.
And of course, it's quite significant not being notified, because if you're not notified, you can't appeal, can you?
No, that's it.
So you're robbed of the opportunity to appeal, assuming it's not disassociation, in which case you can't appeal. But for disfellowshipping, you should be given the right to appeal.
Yep. Actually, there's someone that just commented on that too. I attended an appeal. I was not informed regarding the first hearing where it was decided upon. So, yeah, that certainly is the case.
I'm trying to find that, but I can't quite grab it in time. But I can see, because it's very prominent. Thank you so much, Lisa, for supporting this this live stream. That's very kind of you. But yeah, that's quite remarkable statistics there.
Yeah.
Oh, here we are. Is this the comment you were referring to?
Yes.
Was it? Right. I went to my judicial committee for apostasy, and I also taped both the judicial committee and the appeal meeting, even managed to leave the tape on while they deliberated. Oh, God.
Wow, well done.
Okay.
That'd be interesting listening, I'm sure.
Indeed.
The next question 15, is on writing a letter of disassociation. 28% did do that. It's a personal choice as to, depends on your circumstances as well, I suppose, whether you decide to do that. Question 16. If you attended a judicial hearing, do you feel you were dealt with in a fair and reasonable manner?
Oh, well, there's a surprise. Who would have thought 55% would have said no? Quite a few saying other.
Yes. Yes, I know.
In fact, more have said other than have said yes. So, yes. Yeah.
But looking at that, it does seem, there's not a consistent response in the others. Yeah. To be able to work out.
Okay, so you've gone through where people have explained, and there's no real rhyme or reason to how people are explaining that. Okay.
No, I think there's quite a few, because there were some that didn't attend. We maybe consider putting a not applicable in that might capture quite a few of the responses, because they didn't attend, so it wasn't an issue for them.
So maybe that can sharpen up the future surveys. Many thanks to Raven Tree Frog for your super chat, and also Susan Brewer. Both Susan and Raven Tree Frog are patrons, so thank you so much, both of you, for your super chats. And there's a question here from Motorway to Roswell. Has anyone ever heard of a successful appeal? I never have. Well, the interesting thing about the appeals, we touched on this. I don't know whether it was in your Shepherd Book live stream, Sherrie, but it was certainly in one of them. When it comes to appeals, it's kind of rigged, because what happens when you appeal, if your appeal is processed, an appeals committee is set up, made of different elders to the ones who adjudicated over your case. They then come up with their own decision, and if it's different to the original decision, the original judicial committee elders get to effectively veto your decision, veto the decision of the appeal committee, so that it then has to be adjudicated over by the branch, who obviously aren't personally involved in the whole hearing. So it's all a bit of a mess, quite frankly, the appeals provision. It's almost like they've just come up with something to try and give the appearance of it being fair, when how can it be fair?
To answer that question, though, I have heard of one that was successful, very surprising.
Which means that the original judicial committee will have had to agree with the appeal committee for it to be successful. Yeah.
David Schmid, his judicial committee hearing, where they actually had, the first committee was going to have him disfellowshipped, and Dave appealed it, and the appeal committee did overturn the decision.
Right.
Very interesting.
This would have been historic because he's now disassociated.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, that was a few years ago now.
Okay.
All right. Now, question 17. So
bear with
again,
me one moment.
Sure.
17. Okay. Why did you leave Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yeah.
Okay. So interesting that some there have said I transgressed the moral code, which indicates, for me, Sherrie, that indicates, well, I suppose you could have woken up since and still feel, still being fair, say, oh, well, even though I'm now awake, that was the moral code and I transgressed it. But I would imagine a lot of people who said that are perhaps physically out, mentally in.
Yes, I would tend to agree there. Similar to the other response, I transgressed some other Bible command.
But certainly the most responses were, I disagreed with the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses. So
yeah, that's right. The following, I'm working off a slightly different format here. I've put everything into an Excel spreadsheet because I'm trying to track year to year.
Okay, that's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it will be. It will be. Are you disassociated or disfellowshipped? And again, you see this is question 18. I don't know, nobody told me. and that's, I would actually put my response in there now, because I don't know whether Sasha and I were disfellowshipped or disassociated. We just know we were announced. But
well, I specifically asked that question at my apostasy trial because I was unclear, because it's a bit weird going to a judicial committee for apostasy, because is it disfellowshipping or is it disassociation? Because apostasy is a disfellowshipping offence, but it's also a means by which one can disassociate. So I asked the question because for my own mental checklist, so that I could say whether I was disfellowshipped or disassociated, and they said you're disassociated. So, but I can imagine it being frustrating to just, again, it's one of those things where it's such a life-changing thing. You want as much information as possible, don't you? And they're not necessarily forthcoming.
No. Then again, in this same vein, question 19, how did you first learn that you were disfellowshipped or disassociated? And we have an array of responses as to whether the elders have told you by email, text or phone, whether it was a friend or family member. So most responses are for elders telling you at your judicial committee meeting, but there are still a heap where 10% was a friend or family member that told you, or that it was just announced without you being present.
I'm kind of surprised where it says email and text message, because unless this is historic, because reading if memory serves, reading the Shepherd book, they've kind of made it so that there's only a very small number of ways in which they notify people now. And they mostly involve doing it in a way that can't be recorded in any way, shape or form. So in other words, they're not going to leave a voicemail, because that's something that you can then use, say, on YouTube or whatever. So it might be that the email and text message ones are historic, because I don't think nowadays they do that. I think that which is probably why so many just aren't being told at all. Yes,
that's a very good point. You're quite right. There don't seem to be in the other responses. I mean, there's 467 of them. They're similar stories, basically, of them not being told, being told by family, and people have just taken the opportunity to sort of get that out and explain what happened in their particular case. Now, question 20. Overall, are you happier?
Oh, there's a surprise.
Yes.
God's happy people, which you're happier once you've left. So,
yeah. Very small amount saying no or can't decide. So,
but that's still 26 people, bless them, who are in some kind of purgatory, mental purgatory, aren't they?
Yeah,
expecting Armageddon to come any moment, more than likely.
Yeah, and for them, I just go, recovering from religion, come and talk to people, and because you deserve to be happy. Yeah, you really do deserve to be happy.
Indeed.
Same for the can't decides.
Many thanks to Cora Smiles. I was threatened with being marked, then reminded them I wasn't baptized. A publisher. Yeah, they're in such a rush, aren't they, to mete out these punishments? They probably don't check sometimes whether they actually can, because if you're, again, not baptized, I suppose, just switching on my elder head, I suppose there are circumstances in which an unbaptized person could be considered a member of the congregation who is, quote unquote, walking disorderly. So that's what's probably happened there. But yeah, it's astonishing how, regardless of whether you're baptized or not, they're still going to find ways to make your life a misery if they can, or if they feel they need to. Yeah, absolutely.
Along similar veins, the next question: would you seek reinstatement? Most are saying no, obviously, but again, the yes and the maybes. That's
still 19 who would be back there today if they could, and 69 who are unsure. So yeah.
In fact, I was speaking to someone just last night who was asking this question, whether it was worthwhile in order to have relationships with family again. So it does come up. It does come up. And I think, if memory serves, the next few questions cover that in a little bit more detail. Whether you're shunned by family members. Yeah. These are disfellowshipped and disassociated individuals we're talking about here. Yeah. And obviously, a good 77% are saying yes.
It's worth kind of stressing that it's not a given that you're going to be shunned, because there's slight complexity when it comes to whether your family members want to be considered exemplary or not. So, for example, Deanna's parents don't shun her. They're still Jehovah's Witnesses. They still attend all the meetings, but they're not considered exemplary. So that's why you'll have some in blue saying no, because their family members will have... they won't have fully allowed Watchtower to completely override their humanity, basically. And again, you have the sometimes, but overwhelmingly, you see there, more than 3/4 are saying, yes, I'm being shunned.
Yep. An interesting question for 23. Have you been successful at building a new circle of friends and family since leaving? And quite a few are saying yes, it was relatively easy, 29%, but most responses are yes, but it's been a long journey.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to rebuild your social network afterwards, and it does take time.
And again, you feel for those 80 who've said no, not at all, and 340 who say they've had limited success. Again, our mental health hinges, doesn't it, on whether we're able to reconstruct that sense of community and, that kind of tribe situation that we had when we were JWs. So that's really tragic to see that there are significant numbers who just struggle with that side of things.
Yeah, and to them, I would say reach out to other people. And start to, because again, it's part of that happiness question. You deserve to be happy, and we do get happiness from good relationships with other people. Now, question 24. Would you recommend others to become one of Jehovah's Witnesses?
I think there's a clear answer there. You can skip that one,
Fully expecting that. Okay, now we're into a different branch. This is for baptism and judicial questions for inactive, faded former JWs. So slightly different.
So this is just to understand more about, establishing how much of a witness they were, or how extensive their experience is with Jehovah's Witnesses.
So that gives us some time frames. Most are 11 to 25 years, 1,600 there, 37%.
Sure.
Moving on to 26, at what age were you baptized? This is interesting data.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And you can see straight away the averages are 14 to 16 seems to be.
I'm looking straight away at 18, and looking
Yeah.
at all of the people who were
Yes.
baptized younger than
Before.
18, including some, how many
Yes.
who were 7 or younger?
30.
30. Oh, good grief. Good
30
grief.
who were 7 and younger. Yeah, it's staggering, isn't it?
It's immoral, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and 2018 showed exactly the same trend,
Mm-hmm.
that you had most were in the 14 to 16. There were 12 who were 7 or younger in the 2018 survey. So you still see it no matter what, right? It's consistent. 27, again, this is, as you mentioned, what this group was of witnesses, whether they were baptized publishers, pioneers, etc. And you can see there's a heck of a lot that were pioneers. Baptized publishers, 86%. And then
Few
you've
ministerial
got
servants there,
yes,
and Bethelites and elders.
yes, it's quite fascinating, isn't it? I find it very interesting.
Are these for just purely former, or also for active as well?
Inactive, faded, and former.
Okay.
So not current.
Not current.
These are,
okay.
yeah, they're historical.
Getting excited about current Bethelites, because that has happened in the past, by the way. Where Bethelites.
We're going to get to that one.
Oh, we'll get to that. Okay.
Yes, we will get to that, because we do have a look at the active witnesses.
Okay.
So this is now similar. This has been one of the questions for 28. Have you ever been the subject of a judicial committee hearing? Remember that this is for the inactive, faded, former baptized witnesses. And yes, 42%. And again, you see this, I was summoned but didn't attend. So yes, judicial committees. And then question 29, remembering again which group we're talking about. Have you ever been reinstated into the organisation just so you could have contact with your family again and for no other reason? And yes, there are ones that have attended that. Yeah, 579.
Yeah.
What really annoys me, Lloyd, is the last one. I requested to be reinstated just to have access to family, but was denied.
Yeah.
That's just so cruel. It's just so cruel. When I see that, it makes me cranky.
Well, it's another, again, without wanting to talk about mental health too much, you can imagine what that's going to do to someone's mental health, whether they're jumping through hoops just to see their family again, even to the point of pretending to be in a religion they perhaps no longer believe.
Yeah, I recall someone who'd emailed survey, and Sasha responded to, told a heartbreaking story where he'd been disfellowshipped. His daughter was a baptized witness and was going to get married. And he wanted to walk his daughter down the aisle, so he attempted to get reinstated so that he could do that, and the elders denied it. So heartless and cruel.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly along. Question 30. This is about
there's
how
a surprise.
Yeah. I was born into a witness family, 61%.
It's almost as though in the information age, it's hard to convince people to join a cult.
Yes. It is rather.
Because actually, there's a further 20% who were raised as witnesses after their parents converted.
Yeah.
So that again is child indoctrination, leaving only 13%, let's say, who joined basically as adults. So.
Yes. I have, so in the 2020 survey, we've added some additional responses because I noticed a few trends in the 248 others. So we've added witnesses at school, witnesses at work, and a close relative, partner, spouse converting for that reason. So it'll be interesting to see what 2020 says for that. Question 31, do you consider yourself as awoken from JW indoctrination? Yes, so 93% said yes, but I am intrigued by the other two responses.
Yeah.
108, no, there's nothing to wake up from, and 179, I'm not sure.
Again, your heart breaks for them because, there's going to be some troubled minds there, especially if they've brought themselves to the point of taking this survey, and it's still up in the air, or they feel as though there's nothing to wake up from.
Yeah, really, really interesting. 32 is the age of when you've woken up from indoctrination, and you see most of it is from 22 to 30
to 45,
and then 31 to 45. Yeah.
So and I think both of us fall into that grey and orange zone, don't we? So
definitely, definitely, which is quite interesting. The next question we don't have any stats on, because this is a date field where people will put in what year they're baptized.
Okay.
So just sure. Acknowledging really that people have answered that.
Okay.
Then we've got, oh yes, when did you realize it wasn't the truth? Again, same thing.
Okay.
For a date entry. 35, how many years have you been a baptized witness? So the bulk here were in the 11 to 25 years. This is, again, now we're moving into, I should note, baptism for active witnesses. So this is, we're looking at those that have said they're active and current.
So the figures from this point forward are all people who profess to be active witnesses.
Correct.
And we're dealing with, in many cases, some quite experienced people who were answering. Yeah, if so right. Many were from 11 years onwards. Yeah. Probably the majority were from 11 years onwards. So, that's
right. So when you look at the total figures there, we've got 559 individuals who have said they're active witnesses. So that's
despite the organisation dissuading them from visiting a website like JWsurvey.
Yes,
because that's one question that I would routinely come up against in the early days when I was doing JWsurvey. You'd get, but you're never going to get witnesses to participate. So what use is it? Basically it's an echo chamber if only ex-witnesses are getting involved. No, it turns out that hundreds of people in this instance who profess to be active witnesses have taken part, and I suspect we're going to see that in the answers they've given.
Yes, yes, and you see it consistently right throughout. The next question is asking this group when they were baptized, and again, you see very much the same trend as we saw in the previous group, 14 to 17 being the main area there. Question 37 about how were they introduced to the religion, and again 63%
overwhelmingly born in or raised, basically indoctrinated before they were old enough to know what was going on.
Yes, correct. Now we move into a very interesting section, but we're still in the same group, but now we want to know if
this is one of those where the answers will direct you to a different part of the survey. If you tick the box that says yes, I am an elder presently, you'll then get a whole other set of questions.
That's right. Sure. But I find it so fascinating, Lloyd, that we've got 46 individuals here.
Well, that's 4 or 5 congregations worth of elders, isn't it?
Yes, that they're an elder presently, right now, as they completed the survey.
4 or 5 congregations worth of elders, if not more, took part in this survey.
Yes. Wow. And then,
if you happen to be a Jehovah's Witness watching this and you're in two minds as to whether to do it or not, don't worry, elders are doing it. So what do you have to be worried about? Exactly. And so now from this point on, we branch into the group of questions, as you said, just for elders. So this question now, remember, we're talking about and their current present elders. So branch committee member,
I know,
circuit overseer, assembly hall overseer, HLC member.
It's very, 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 very interesting.
So it's worth saying at this point, and I think we make this clear every single year. These are professed positions, so we don't have a means of verifying them. No. However, it is intriguing to consider the possibility that And we were saying off air, weren't we, that there are so many branch committees around the world that it's not inconceivable that one of them has taken it. And certainly when it comes to things like circuit overseers, well, they're 10 a penny when you think about how many countries have access to this survey. So, yeah, you just never know. Yeah.
It really is interesting. And the other responses there, the 9, they seem to specify things like, Watchtower overseer or the account servant or, things like that. So,
okay.
Interesting. Then the next question, 40, ever presided over a judicial committee hearing? And 78% say yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So now,
if the answer above question is yes, have you ever regretted a decision you've reached as a judicial committee? Mixed answers here.
Yes.
So I would say more than half have said in some way, shape or form, yes, they have regretted it.
That's
yes,
right.
I knew the person was innocent. I regretted the decision later. I felt that the sin was not serious enough to warrant the decision. But the way it works is, irrespective of what you personally think, you've just got to go along with the majority, haven't you? So if the other two want to do it, you can't be the one who spoils everything.
Yeah. One of the comments in the other made me smile. This elder says, I was only on one that reinstated a person, so I totally did not regret that. Unshunning someone is nice.
Yeah. Well, that's true, yeah. Done some good work there for a change.
Yeah.
But that's one of the ways in which, because we do hear, don't we, sometimes from elders who are kind of PMO, and that's one area in which you'd struggle, wouldn't you, as a PMO elder if you get assigned to a judicial committee, because even if you go into that situation wanting to do good, you're still going to be an accessory potentially to an extremely damaging thing if the other two go against you. So
that's right.
Tricky one.
The next questions just confirmed that. Are you aware? Oh yes, question 42.
Yeah.
Are you aware of there being any cases of domestic violence within your congregation? And the response
too many saying yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
too many
but
there.
Alarmingly, there's this. Yes, it was dealt with appropriately, and the matter was reported to the authorities. Fantastic. But yes, the matter was handled within the congregation, and no further action was required.
Oh dear.
Yes.
And one individual has said, I would rather not say it's confidential. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing's confidential, isn't it? Because we're not asking for your name, but anyway.
Yeah. And the only response there, that other response, the elder just says yes, but wasn't handled properly.
Right, okay.
Which,
And again, mental health, not just mental health, but also people's lives potentially being at risk because they're being coerced to stay in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
If you answered yes to the above question, do you feel that the matter was handled appropriately and the perpetrator of this violence is no longer, I think, we need to fix that, a risk to the victims in this case?
Oh, yeah, I did fix it for 2020.
Okay, great.
When I went through.
And the answer is yes, the perpetrator was reported to the police and is being dealt with by the authorities. But here it says, yes, the victims in this case, okay. The victims in this case no longer have to have contact with their abuser. Well, that probably means they're separated and they can't move on with their lives meaningfully. And this one says, no, I do not feel that it was dealt with appropriately. 15. And that's 15.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
It's rather high, isn't it?
We put I would rather not say just to allow some latitude, but we're not in a position to chase down these stories anyway. So why people vote this way, I don't know. Just tell us. Because we can't
tell anyway.
There are no details that we can take action on, so you might as well tell us. So
no, but interesting their thought processes there, Lloyd. That they have, they're completing a survey, but this question is a step too far that they're not feeling comfortable with.
Maybe
really
some internal turmoil going on there for those that voted that way.
Very interesting.
Are you aware of there being any? Oh right, okay. Well, this is disturbing.
Very.
Yes, the parents have been notified. 14. Yes, the parents have not been notified.
Yes.
And bear in mind, this is 12 professed elders, which is potentially 12 congregations worth of parents who haven't been notified.
Right. Right.
And even in the congregations where the parents were notified, as I indicated in my evidence to ICSA, there's any number of situations, for example, visiting speaker on a Sunday with kids, where they could still come into touch with kids whose parents don't know. So
Yep. Now, the next few questions, it's the same disturbing information that we're getting here.
Is the branch office aware that there is a pedophile in your congregation? Oh, good grief. So 28 elders, which again potentially means 28 congregations where there's a pedophile in the congregation.
Yep.
We just shouldn't be guessing this many, should we, really?
No, but Lloyd, what I find so disturbing here is the I don't knows. There are 28 elders who don't know. They know there's a pedophile in the congregation, but they don't know if it's been reported to the branch. How can they not know?
Yeah.
I don't.
That is bizarre.
Isn't that?
I mean, you could understand people saying, I would rather not say, but how can you not know whether the branch are aware or not?
So what's
because it actually says in the Shelders, it actually says in the Shepherd book that apart from even though you don't necessarily, well, you don't tell the police without the branch's permission, but one thing that always happens is that the branch is told. So how are they saying that they don't know whether the branch has been told or not?
That just amazes me. What's happening in those congregations that the judicial committee is not communicating with everybody else, that they've followed their own processes. And certainly 46 is along the same veins, the next question, but this is asking if the police were advised. And again, you have 28 saying they don't know.
Well, when you compile the answers below yes, that's a majority, isn't it?
Yes.
A majority of people have answered either no, or I would rather not say, or I don't know. And only 10 or 16, 17% have said, yes, the police are aware.
Yep. And can we also remember that this is current active elders?
Professed current active elders, yeah.
Incredible. Is there a problem of child abuse within Jehovah's Witnesses? Amazing.
You know what? I'd forgotten about these questions. I hadn't prepared myself emotionally for this. Yeah. God.
Perhaps we should have also given a trigger warning for everyone watching. I should have prepared
my audience. Currently 328 watching. I apologize for not preparing you all. If you consider yourself awakened from witness indoctrination, what are your reasons for continuing to serve as an elder? So 72 elders consider themselves awakened, and these are their reasons for continuing. Quite a mixed bag. This is not applicable. Well, it's applicable to us. I would rather not say. I don't want to disappoint my family members by stepping down. I can imagine that in quite a few situations. I feel I'm in a position where I can help people in my congregation. That too, I can kind of understand, but again, what happens when you get called into a judicial committee?
Yes, you're going to get to a crisis point at some point in time. You're going to be challenged.
But here's one that that the society won't appreciate.
No.
I feel I can be of some use by passing on information to XJW activists. And this is the problem when you have a captive organization where you're forcing people to be members and you're penalizing them if they leave. This is exactly the sort of thing you can expect, that there would be people inside who are leaking information and helping to, in their own small way, orchestrate the downfall of the organization, because they're being, what choice do they have? You're not letting them leave freely.
Yep. Just one of the other respondents, or one of the others, please specify.
Yeah.
One of them put too old.
Too old, bless him.
To leave. And I thought, honey, no, You're
Yeah.
not too old.
Yeah. I think of Joe Biden.
Yes.
I think of Auntie Bev.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of people I know, either personally or otherwise, who are running rings around me with their accomplishments, despite being in their 70s or older, leads me to conclude that too old is not a suitable answer.
No.
I think this is just to establish a little bit more about other positions
Within the
that
congregation,
the elders have held. So
this
some
is
have
actually
been.
a new branch now, Lloyd. This is we've finished with the current elder group, so this is now back to the full pool.
This is back to the active witnesses.
Correct.
So some have been missionaries, some have been special pioneers, regular pioneers, etc.
Yeah.
Traveling overseas. So the green denotes never held. The yellow denotes I've never held this position.
Yes.
Blue is current. So there is a current Bethelite.
Yes.
At least one that I can see there.
So the currently hold, there are 426 baptized publishers, 20 unbaptized, there's 14 auxiliary pioneers, 30 regular pioneers, 4 special pioneers, 9 MTS graduates, 55 ministerial servants, and 2 Bethelites and 2 traveling overseas.
I can imagine MTS or Bible school graduates feeling a little bit impervious to thinking, "Oh, I've got this," you know.
Yeah.
I know so much about the organisation and its history. I'm impervious to this survey and any apostate effects. Have you ever been subject of a judicial committee hearing? Quite a few there saying yes.
Yep.
Which I suppose again will have helped them reach this point where they're comfortable going on JWsurvey, because they've probably had a colourful career, shall we say, as a witness.
Yes.
And it's just given them a little bit of confidence, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. The next one is the reinstated question for contact with family. And again, there's 56 that have said yes to this.
Yeah, it's mostly no, but still, those are still 56 people.
That's right.
Who've literally just rejoined just to be with their family.
Just for that.
Yeah.
And 2 that were denied.
Yeah.
So cruel. Now we move into questions on...
Oh, these ones are bad. I hate these ones. Yeah, this is another one where I should have warned people.
Trigger warning.
What is your personal stance on the use of blood transfusions in medical treatment? Secretly, I would accept treatment with blood transfusions if my life were at stake. 1,046. These are all active, are they?
No, this
is everyone.
The full pool. Yep, this is the full pool. So it will include active as well as
Okay.
Ones left.
Okay. Well, there's a question coming up there that I always dread.
Yes.
This is the one. Would you allow your child to die for want of a blood transfusion? There's always someone who says yes. And in this case, 147 parents out there in charge of a child that they would see die over the blood issue, which is just, it chills me to the bone whenever I see this statistic. Yeah.
Absolutely. But this is one that confirms that we have active witnesses participating in the survey.
Exactly, because how else would you answer that question that way?
That's right.
You know? Yeah.
That's right. So it just, and I'm not sure. Okay, you're on the path to learning more about it, but we've got more work to do, Lloyd.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're a parent, you know, it shouldn't be a case of it. There shouldn't be any indecision on this.
No. No.
Oh dear. Okay.
So let's move on.
Moving swiftly on. Have you ever donated blood? Interesting. Well, again, this is the full pool, isn't it? So
that's right.
Nice to see 1,400 there have said yes.
Yeah.
But I feel this makes me feel a bit ashamed because I still haven't, and it's not because I'm against doing it. I'd love to do it. It's just I just haven't got round to it yet.
It's
something that can save lives, Sherrie. So
I know.
I need to do that in a video, don't I? I need to go and get the deed done.
That would be good. I think that'd be a great video.
Yeah, I'm sure 70,000 YouTube subscribers want to see the red stuff come out of me.
And then the next question is, would you consider donating blood, but with the caveat, if it's designated for blood fraction?
Yes, this is a clever one. Yeah.
Yes, I find that one quite interesting.
So the majority said they'd donate it anyway.
Yep.
130 said only if it was for blood fractions,
Yep.
which just isn't going to happen, is it? Is it really?
No.
Only if nobody found. Yes. Again, this is the sort of thing that you're only going to tick if you are a believing Jehovah's Witness.
Yes.
Isn't it? You're only going to tick that option if you're a believing Jehovah's Witness.
That's it. And
this is the united theocratic organization, Jehovah's United Worldwide Brotherhood, that's so united that we've managed to find a couple of hundred who would secretly donate blood if they weren't found out. So,
which, when you think about it too, Lloyd, that figure's really high, because there's 6,000 people that responded to this question, and 3.4% have said that. If you extrapolated that over the 8 million, that's a heck of a lot of people saying only if nobody found out.
Indeed.
Next question.
Do you personally know of a Jehovah's... Oh, yeah, I hate this one. Or a child of witness parents who died due to refusing blood treatment, and the number there is 1,357 who said yes. I think I will have been included in that, because I know people who've died because of it. And if you think about it, I mean, that's not to say that there's 1,357 deaths, because it could be, it's not inconceivable that some could be thinking of the same person, but even so, that's a very, very high figure in terms of literal deaths. You know?
Again, if you were to extrapolate that percentage across the entire 8 million.
This is just for 7,000 people who've used JWsurvey, describing or talking about a religion that accounts for 8.5 million followers. So this is disturbing. Very disturbing.
So the next question asks, if you had the power, would you remove the prohibition of the medical use of blood transfusions? No surprises, 85% have said yes.
But still hundreds saying no.
No, I know.
And 547 saying I'm not sure. And this is another one of those teachings that stays with people, in some cases even after they're disfellowshipped.
Right.
You know, you can be disfellowshipped, can't you, for years or decades, and still think it would be an abomination to receive someone else's blood.
That's right. Which the next question goes into, that would you remove disfellowshipping in life-threatening cases where a blood transfusion was used to save a life? And yes, a lot have said, most said yes, but still you've got people saying no. Still. Okay, moving along now to questions about the anointed. So again, this is to the full pool. Who do you believe is the faithful and discreet slave?
Quite a few mixed reactions there, but this is, like you say, the full pool.
Yes, it is the full pool.
But 263 think it's the governing body when they meet together, and 70 think it's the individual members of the governing body. That's interesting. So over 300 think it's basically the governing body.
Yes, and I won't toy with everybody's imaginations to mention what the other please specify.
Oh, God.
Because you can just
probably
imagine.
One or two have said Arthur. Arthur Weber is the faithful and discreet slave.
Dear, too funny.
Mark O'Donnell.
We have to have a laugh at some point.
Do you believe that the 144,000 mentioned at Revelation is a literal number? Interesting. Quite a few saying no.
But some saying yes, again, showing that we do have active witnesses here.
And isn't it interesting that the yes sort of matches up with so 333 people there, the people who say in some way, shape or form it's the governing body. Again, you're talking in the 300s, aren't you?
Yes.
Which indicates again, at least 300 true believers taking the survey.
Right. Next one is asking for thoughts on the overlapping generation.
It's ridiculous. Yes. Fantastic. So the majority of people taking our survey have a firm grip on reality.
Yes, but 37 said it makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense. Of course it does.
And 40 say, I don't understand it, but I believe it anyway.
I love this. Hopefully, one day I will understand it. 162. And that's despite David Splain getting out his pointy stick. His pointy stick has failed. His pointy stick has failed 162 people there. Oh dear. Did you partake of the emblems at the most recent memorial? Oh yes, so this is because when I first started the survey, it was before the change, the new light about the faithful slave, and at that time I was desperate to find out. I kind of took sadistic pleasure in going to more lengths to find out what the faithful slave at that time thought than the governing body did.
Right.
So I was at this point, because this is all kind of based on the original survey, which I think was 2011. And yeah, we've had to kind of modify this question after the new light in 2012. But it's still interesting to see how many of the quote-unquote anointed are taking part in the survey, especially when you consider that there's only supposed to be 144,000 that have ever lived or will ever live, and you've got there 114.
Yes. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
So now, do you believe that Jehovah's Witnesses represent God's spirit-directed organisation? So these are general pool questions now, again. And 71 say yes.
And that's interesting because we've already established that there were kind of 300-ish who were saying, making noises along the lines that they're believing Jehovah's Witnesses. But here, that number kind of more than half goes down to maybe a quarter of them who are actually willing to say, yes, it's God's spirit-directed organisation.
Yeah, 223 are not sure.
That's a lot of indecision, yeah.
Yeah. Then we have, do you believe that congregation elders are appointed by Holy Spirit? Of course, 97% saying no.
Yeah. Again, a firm grip on reality there by most people taking the survey.
Yeah.
Have you ever personally assisted someone from first contact on the ministry to... this is interesting. Obviously, it's going to be mostly nobody has assisted, because it's really hard, isn't it?
That's right.
It's really, really hard in the age of the internet to persuade people to join a cult from the doorstep.
That's it.
But there's still some, inevitably, who've managed it.
Yes.
353 managing one person, 159 managing two, and some even managing up to 10 people to convert them. God.
Very interesting. Now, question 65. This one, Lloyd, is probably one that I get asked about the most from people who have taken the survey. And the question will be, maybe I shouldn't give it away.
No. Well, let me do my best to explain. So,
okay.
At the beginning, I said one of the uses of the survey is that if you're taking it as someone who's a believing witness, it will confront you with things that you otherwise probably never heard of. And this is the main part of the survey where it does that. So it confronts you with a number of statements about Watchtower's past or beliefs, and you have to say whether it's basically true or false. It's basically like the fanny pack of facts, just for the survey. And it's interesting because I've had people approach me who are now awake saying that when I was taking the survey, I was saying, oh, no, that can't be true. And no, that can't be true. And only later do they find out, you know.
Same thing. I've heard the same comments where they're just like, that can't be true. I mean, that's a trick question, isn't it?
So if we scroll down to the, there we are. Yeah. So man is advantaged by a greater brain size. Yeah, that was Samuel Hurd's little tidbit there. His
little chestnut.
You've got the Pyramid of Giza. That's a good one because at one point they said it was God's stone witness, And then rather than say, oh, actually, we were wrong on that, just ignore us, Rutherford went out and said it wasn't built by God, it was built by Satan. So they just replaced one lie with another. You've got the ancient worthies there. You've got something which I'm not going to say because it's going to get me demonetized.
Yes.
You've got lots of teachings, and it's basically showing how little people understand these nuances of Watchtower history.
What I really like about this is that most people, well, for quite a few of the questions, it is most, that have said, I'm not sure, I would need to research this.
Yeah. And
I really hope they do go and research it.
I hope so too, yeah. Because this is where the survey kind of comes into its own and starts taking on kind of an informative role to some extent, even though it's still couched in the form of a question.
That's it. It makes people think. And the next question does the same thing. Do you believe that you are free to express a difference of opinion within the witness faith?
Although this is interesting in the context of my current rebuttal, because, spoiler alert, they revisit the whole issue of parents complaining about inappropriate material being shown in the videos, even to children. So Stephen Lett gave an answer in the May broadcast, which effectively was, we know better than you parents. Your children need to be seeing this. Just go along with it. Is essentially what he said. And then Tony Morris comes along. Clearly that didn't work. Tony Morris, apparently his solution was to say the exact same thing in a slightly different way. So clearly, even some believing witnesses are sending through letters to the point where the governing body are now having to field complaints in their JW broadcasting episodes.
Isn't that interesting? That's really fascinating. And yet in this question, 389 people feel that you are free to express a difference of opinion.
Indeed.
Well, go express that difference of opinion and see how successful you are.
See how quickly you get frog marched to the back room. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, now the next questions, Lloyd, are a bit of fun.
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the governing body popularity contest. Yeah. Who, in your view, is the most likable member of the governing body? They're not getting massive. They're not getting massive numbers, are they? But is Stephen Lett the winner there? He is 180. Yeah. Stephen Lett wins the popularity contest there,
which is rather surprising
if you ignore the nobody response. Yes. But then there's another one. Yes. Who, in your view, is the most controversial member?
And no surprises.
That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate, brothers. Oh, God.
I love it.
Bless his cotton socks. Yeah, there he is in all his glory.
Oh, it's too funny.
But Stephen Lett still ranks quite highly in this, even though he's the most likable. He's also the second most controversial. Yeah. Who's the least controversial? That's what I want to know. Kenneth Cook. Well, that's because he doesn't have a personality. He is quite possibly an alien riding a human suit, because that's for all he appears natural in his videos. I'm not convinced he's fully human, because he. I'm gonna be labelled as spewing hate speech now, dehumanising the governing body. So I'd better move on. But Kenneth Cook is really dull, isn't he? What are your thoughts on JW broadcasting? Tick any that apply. Oh, okay. Gosh, it's manipulative propaganda seems to be. Well, that's 82% have said it's manipulative propaganda. But at least 17 deluded souls have said, I am proud when I see the governing body speaking, and 68 think it's a wonderful provision.
Yep.
And 104 say, I watch every episode with my family. Oh, dear.
And look, 629
okay. Are you able to give us a flavour of what the others are?
Yes, well, here's one. The stupidest thing they ever did was put let on the first episode. I was still in and was embarrassed for the witnesses. I do not watch anymore.
Yeah, that's fair, I think. Yeah. I was rubbing my hands. I can still remember like it was yesterday, the very first one, and putting out a rebuttal and thinking this is like a godsend, because they're now putting themselves front center for everyone to see how deluded they are. But what's interesting is that when you speak to people on the inside, it's quite clear that people are finding ways to like it. When you have to like it, when it's kind of a religious requirement that you like it, you're going to gloss over the ugly bits and the embarrassing bits and just focus on... I think if I was still in the organization, I would be hanging on every month for the testimonials and thinking, oh, I'm here for the testimonials. I'm just going to ignore everything else.
Yes. And that's one of the comments too. I'm very happy to see different countries, brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I can relate to that, yeah. Do you believe the legal entities of... Oh, this is a good one for Australians, isn't it? Should enjoy charitable or tax-exempt status? I think a majority there, clear majority, saying no.
Definite no. And that has now passed into legislation here in Australia. So
it has, hasn't it? We need to do another Watchtower in Focus to keep pace with it all. I want to see. I guess for me, Sherrie, it's one of those where it seems a bit too good to be true, even though everything is at such an advanced stage that I feel like I need to see it actually happen, because it still hasn't happened yet, and. You just never know, do you, what Watchtower's going to do, because they're that desperate for money and they're that underhanded.
Yes. Well, we're going to find out fairly soon, because the government's put this into place now. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens.
Joel Brown says, proud to be Australian.
I totally agree.
And Christina Mason says, yes, well done, Australia.
Hey, Christina.
So there we go.
So now the next few questions are on donation. Do you donate money to the organisation? And yes, most people are saying no, but
this is not going to be very pleasant viewing if you're holding the Watchtower purse strings.
No.
If there are this many people who are saying no, including having established that there are hundreds taking this survey who are parroting Watchtower beliefs in their answers. If only 22 are saying yes quite a lot, and 123, so not even 150 have said yes here. That's interesting.
Yep. And then your next question, if you answered positively about donating, are you comfortable with your donations?
Oh, this was another little sneaky one, wasn't it? Where, again, the questions take on a kind of a dual role, shall we say.
Yeah. but I find it staggering that 72 people would say, I'm okay with that.
There's still some that are perfectly fine with it. In fact, that's the weird thing, is that even if the organisation were totally transparent and totally upfront with what it's doing, which it clearly isn't, it has such a tight grip on people's minds that almost certainly a decent percentage of Jehovah's Witnesses would be fine with it.
Yeah. The next question, do you believe the organisation is in financial difficulty? Interesting mix there.
Well, that's a difficult one to answer with any degree of certainty. I've long said, yes, they are in financial difficulty. It's just difficult to know to what extent, or whether it's to any significant degree when when there's such a lack of transparency over the figures. Because whenever you have an organisation that has literally millions of devoted members who are under no illusions that they need to donate if they can in order to keep things running, it's always going to be getting in a lot of money, and especially when it has a substantial property portfolio, things it can sell. It's always going to have some money, but what you don't know is how much money is going out, and whether the amount going in is enough for the amount going out, without wishing to parrot what Stephen Letts said. So yeah, that's interesting. Mixed responses there. Yeah.
The next one is about if you're comfortable with everyone who doesn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness being killed by God at Armageddon.
How many said yes? 70.
Yep.
70 deranged, psychotic individuals out there.
Well, 45 say that that's not what Jehovah's Witnesses believe.
Who don't know their religion, in other words.
Yes.
But yeah, this is one of those things where you never think about it in those terms, do you? So again,
Right.
the survey's being a little bit sneaky role, in other words, to make people think about it.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the vast majority have said, no, I'm not comfortable with that. But there's always going to be a few psychotic individuals who, even when it's put in such black and white terms, are going to say, yeah, bring it on. You know, I want to see people who disagree with my religious views getting pummeled by fireballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another sneaky question.
Have you researched Jehovah's Witness? Welcome to the internet.
Yes.
Have you ever researched Jehovah's Witnesses on the internet? How do you say no? I guess maybe they don't think of JWsurvey as being part of the internet and part of doing research, which I suppose
how
is...
did you find the survey? How did you find the survey?
Have you ever taken part in JWsurvey? No. Okay, well that's interesting.
Yeah,
little anomaly there.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the Watchtower Society can or should be reformed? A bit of a split of answers here. Should undergo reform, but I can't see it happening. That seems to be the most popular answer, yeah.
Oh, well, actually, the most popular is the one at the below.
Oh, sorry. I think the society is beyond reform and should be shut down. Okay, I can get behind that, I guess.
Yeah, but again, it's a very interesting thing for active witnesses to be thinking about. That
I did a video a few years back for that exact reason, because you know, if I'm going to be making so many videos where I'm criticizing the organization, a criticism of me could be, well, what are you proposing? You know, all you're talking about is the problems. What do you see as being the solution? So I did that as kind of like a mental exercise. I personally, and I got criticism for doing it because so many people were saying, why are you even suggesting that it can be reformed? I don't think it can be reformed, not without bankrupting itself in payments out to abuse victims. However, it's always useful as a mental exercise and to show reasonableness to at least float the possibility. Yeah.
No, actually, I remember that video. I quite enjoyed it because it helped sort out everything in my own head on what they could do to improve things. We know they won't, but yeah, I do remember that video. It was very good. Now, according to witness teachings, more than 100 years have now passed since Jesus Christ began ruling in the heavens. What are your thoughts on this? Another food for thought question here.
Mixed responses there. 100 years is not a short period of time. That's an understatement. I have doubts about the 1914 teaching. 64%, a clear majority. The governing body are clinging to the 1914 teaching because this is their only basis for claiming authority. I actually now disagree with this. I think I've done a video where I say if they wanted to, they could get rid of it completely and still have people's loyalty. Because what you tend to see them do when they're arguing for their authority, they very rarely talk about 1919 or 1914. They simply do the box ticking exercise of, oh, what other organization would be doing this and what other organization would be doing that. I think they could just get rid of the 1914 teaching. And so many people are used to that sort of argumentation that they just go along with it, you know?
Yes, exactly. That's right. So the next question, 78. What is your attitude regarding shunning? And of course, most are saying, I object to it. But there are a few, 298, that said, I believe that shunning is to keep the congregation clean and should have no bearing on family ties.
And a few dozen there saying, I am currently shunning a family member, either who's inactive or who's disfellowshipped. So, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Now we move on to what is your view of so-called apostates?
Mentally diseased.
That's right.
No, the new one is corrupted of mind. That's the
Oh.
nicer way of saying mentally diseased.
Oh, okay.
Apparently.
All right.
Apostate is just a word used to stigmatize those who disagree with the society. That was actually 90%, so most people think that. But there's always going to be some. So 23 there say they're mentally diseased. 65 seek to draw off followers after themselves. That's just Arthur Weber, I'm afraid. He's the only one that I'm aware of. They are bitter and vindictive. That's only Sasha D'Souza. He's the only one that I'm aware of who's bitter and vindictive.
I'm sure he's seriously typing at the laptop right now.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is interesting, and especially when they're making these comments or they're voting for these comments. And you're like, do you realise that you're on a survey?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, you're kind of an apostate because you're here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just so amusing. Next one. Only if you consider yourself to be an apostate, what are your thoughts towards Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yeah, this is good. So this is useful. I mean, there's always going to be some who are just a bit messed up, and who do actually fall into the category that lying, exaggerating is acceptable so long as it brings down Watchtower. 31 individuals were able to say that. 69 said they hate all Jehovah's Witnesses. 70, including Arthur presumably, said I would like to draw them off as followers after myself. 285 couldn't even say what they think. But clearly the majority have more reasonable, more measured responses. The governing body know what they're doing and should be held accountable for their actions. I have nothing against Jehovah's Witnesses, but I would like to see the Watchtower Society dissolved. All right, so some there saying shouting, 119, still only 3% saying shouting at or intimidating Jehovah's Witnesses is sometimes appropriate to get the point across. And here's a nice one. I love Jehovah's Witnesses. I am concerned that they're being misled. And that's 44% who, despite being considering themselves apostates, 44% saying finding themselves able to tick an option that says I love Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah,
that's encouraging. The next question. So the reason why there's no data there is because we've
hidden it. We've concealed it. It's been rigged. Donald Trump is going to lodge lawsuits against this survey.
It's a free text response, and it's allowing everybody an opportunity to say what they would like.
We probably got pages there because it says
exactly.
Yeah, 1,195 answered. So there's probably a book the size of the Bible containing those answers.
There are.
If you consider yourself a believer in Watchtower teachings, tick the answer that best describes your outlook. Even if it could be proven that Jehovah's Witnesses are untrue. Sorry, if it could be proven that Jehovah's Witnesses are untrue, I would leave. That, again, is quite a useful kind of exercise in terms of helping kind of plant a few seeds for those that are taking the survey and who are in that mindset. But there's still 49 individuals who are like, I don't care, I'd still stay as one, even if it could be proven untrue.
Yep, I'm sure they're probably thinking, where else would they go?
Indeed, yeah.
Now, this is another disturbing question.
Oh, no.
Yes.
The November 15th, 2013 Watchtower urged all witnesses to obey any instructions we may receive, whether these appear sound from a strategic or human standpoint or not. With this in mind, if all witnesses received instructions from the governing body to take a pill, would you take it? Still some saying yes.
Yeah.
So there's your Jonestown right there. 54 people who would actually take a pill, and 64 not sure. Chilling.
Very much. 84 is asking if you have awoken, if you consider yourself as awoken, what resources have been most influential? So scrolling down, this is
Let's
asking
get to
about
the table.
crisis of conscience, reluctant apostate, JW facts, JW survey. Interesting.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really nice to see.
And I've added, so I did note some of the other responses because...
Damn you, JW Facts, beating JW Survey. Orders drone strike on Paul Grundy. Okay.
But I've added a lot more because so much has happened. There's been so many more documentaries, so many more books, more podcasts.
The winner is always this one, isn't it? That's always the winner, or up there in terms of, because you've got JW Facts there with 1,678 is extremely influential. Everything over 1,000 is basically there. JW Survey and Watchtower's own publications, and that's what I keep saying in my videos. Look at their own publications; it's all there. Exactly. Oh, on Crisis of Conscience as well. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. So interesting one. Then the next one is also another free text response. So in the 2020 survey, we've added some options. So you will see some changes for everybody there. That question. 86 was about how regularly people are going to various websites, blogs, forums, etc.
Quite a mixed response there, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's reflective of where you are in the waking up process, because certainly when you're early on, you're on it all the time. Trigger warning for the next question.
Oh no. Have you ever known or heard of one of Jehovah's Witnesses committing or attempting suicide? By far the majority have said yes. So 70, over three quarters have said yes. And some have said other. That's really sad, really tragic. Do you suffer from depression? We're basically in the mental health part here, aren't we?
Yes.
55, more than half have said they suffer from depression.
Yeah.
Jehovah's happy people.
Yeah, right. Right.
If the answer to the above question is yes, have you obtained professional help for your depression? That's good to see that a good number there have said yes, or no, but I intend to. So that's reassuring to see, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree. People need to be doing that. Now, 90, have you contemplated or attempted suicide as a result of your Jehovah's Witness beliefs or the prospect of shunning?
Too many.
Way
saying
too
yes.
many.
Yeah, so nearly 2,000 people have said that they've attempted or committed.
Right.
It's actually over that's just shy of 2,000. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really, really tragic. And again, this is an organization that prides itself on being the happy people, on being a loving organization, and yet look what it's doing to people. It's literally, and think of all the people as well who never got to take part in this survey because they were successful in their attempt.
Yeah. Just anybody that is feeling this way, please reach out. There are incredible resources that can be on offer and available to help you through any situations. You do not have to deal with this on your own.
Indeed. One of which is recoveringfromreligion.org.
Yeah.
There are lots of resources available. Please do avail yourself of them if you are overcome or overwhelmed by anxiety.
Yeah. The next question, we're not out of the mental health questions yet.
Okay.
This is the last one.
Good number there. Self-harming. Well, it's not a good number. It's a terrible number. 1,200, more than 1,200 self-harming as a Jehovah's Witness.
Yes. Some really significant issues with mental health within the organisation.
Yeah. So are we out of the mental health section?
We are out of the... Yes. So now we move on to schooling and higher education. We are coming near to the end of the survey. There's only probably about 10 questions or so left. Oh, okay. No, sorry. there's a bit more than that.
Okay.
My maths is terrible. Were you ever homeschooled?
I came close to being homeschooled. My
Really?
sister was homeschooled. It was the last year of high school, and my sister was pulled out. She had 2 years to go. I had 1 year to go, and it was decided that even though I was being ruthlessly and relentlessly bullied, I would just stick it out for 1 more year. And I'm really glad I did, actually, because I think I would have really struggled with employment,
Right.
particularly part-time employment, if I hadn't carried on and got those qualifications. But yeah, 847 here who were homeschooled, and I think I related on our last day's live stream. It came up about the fact that, you know, they lie about not separating children from parents, and this routinely happens at meetings for field service. And Mark and I were saying about how we remember constantly being asked to work with other people's children. And one example I can remember was having to work with a homeschooled child who was doing the preaching work when she should be being educated. And inevitably the householder, because I looked like I was the parent or something, the householder was like, what's this kid doing on my doorstep? She should be in school, you know.
Yep.
What a great witness that was.
So the next question, if you answered yes to homeschooling, do you think it had any negative implications?
Well, that's a decent number saying yes there.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. If you attended school as a Jehovah's Witness, were you bullied for your beliefs? 61%.
Too many.
Yeah.
Majority there saying yes. I can definitely say that I was bullied as a Jehovah's Witness. And here's the thing, the way they set things up, you know, it's rigged against you in a way, because you're not just going to school as a Jehovah's Witness with the position, these are my beliefs, I'm not going to agree with certain things that are said by the teacher, say, for example, on evolution. You're trained to go to school with the attitude, I'm there to teach others. I'm there to proselytize and recruit my classmates into the religion. That inevitably is going to lead to bullying, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes, your own private special territory. Have you ever attended higher education or university?
Nice to see some have, and this is the thing, it's not a rule, it's not a disfellowshipping offence, it's just heavily dissuaded. So fortunately there are some, and I'm actually among this number, because my parents believed strongly that I should go to college so that I could get a good part-time job and pioneer. Right. So I went to college for 2 years. And so, yeah, I would be among this number. But I think it's safe to say that, especially in the JW broadcasting era, this number is of those that say yes is going to go down and down and down, because they really seem to be against it, don't they, the current governing body?
Absolutely. Well, 212 are saying yes, but only with a view to pursuing kingdom interests.
Of course, yeah, that would have been me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the next, if you're no longer a Jehovah's Witness, have you attended higher education or university since leaving? And I think it's fantastic.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Isn't that awesome?
Well, we need some good news, don't we, after some of those questions?
Yes, absolutely.
That's really positive. That's wonderful.
Next question, have you experienced financial disadvantage as a result of witness teachings on pursuing higher education?
That is just under half saying yes. Actually, no, it's actually a majority if you include yes, but I'm not sure how significant.
Yeah.
So, so that's actually a majority. Okay.
That's it.
Do you think there is an institutional problem with how reports of domestic violence are handled within the organisation? Majority there.
Yes.
Do you personally know of any cases of domestic violence that were mishandled by the congregation elders? Well, again, you know, extrapolated to the full size of the organisation, this carries, you know, a toll in terms of quite possibly deaths and almost certainly violence towards abused spouses, doesn't it?
That's right. Oh, and then the next one. Have you ever been the victim of domestic violence by a Jehovah's Witness?
Considering the sample size, 4,872 answering this particular question, that's a shocking amount.
It's terrible.
That is 757 people who answered this question said yes. So that's
right.
really awful to see.
And 474 provided details. A lot of it is from spouse.
Oh, so sorry, it was more than 1,000 then, because these are either or, aren't they? You can't.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Correct. Horrific stories in some of those other responses, comments that just, I'm not going to read any of them out.
Probably wouldn't be good to read them, but
No,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Do you believe Jehovah's Witnesses have a problem with child abuse? Majority there saying yes.
Yeah.
58 deluded souls saying no. Which, if any of these child abuse laws... Oh, yeah, this is another one intended to just kind of steer people in the right direction.
And for the 2020 survey, I've had to substantially add to this list.
I can imagine. Well, this is the thing. This is a question that's going to have to keep being added to year after year after year, because there's so many now, aren't there?
Well, that's right. And I mean, there were ones that I missed. So in the, where did I get it? I think it was in another question somewhere else. People had given me some more that need to be added. Oh, well, so it's actually on the 2020 survey. People have put other.
Yeah, we need to update this, don't we? Because we do so many on Watchtower and Focus in the space of a year. It's hard to keep up. It's impossible to keep up with them all. I'm actually dreading doing the second edition of The Reluctant Apostate, because that has a whole chapter on it, and I'm basically going to have to go right back to the drawing board and almost start from scratch with telling this story, because there's so much has happened, you know.
It's a tremendous amount. Okay, so 103, are you aware of any instances of child sex abuse within where you knew the victim personally? Yeah,
personally is a key part of the question, because obviously lots of people could have heard for example, the Candace Conti lawsuit, but they don't know the victim personally. So we've added personally at the end there. Yeah. And quite a number saying yes. And what's really chilling is these ones towards the bottom. You then have the victims saying, yes, I am a victim of child sex abuse within Jehovah's Witnesses. And even worse, I'm a victim of child sex abuse within Jehovah's Witnesses, and I know others.
Yes. Yeah. And 112 provided some details, and they're not for public consumption.
No. But finally, at least in Australia, government starting to do something about it, and we can only hope that this model is pursued elsewhere in the world.
For sure. Do you think someone guilty of molesting children in the past should be allowed to serve as an elder, provided his actions are not known by the congregation?
Oh, that's not what I'm looking at. If witness parents discover their child has been molested by a member of the congregation, what should be done? First, the elders should be informed. 202 have said that. But obviously, by far the majority said, it should go straight to the police.
Correct,
60 say they don't know. And this is the one you were reading. Do you think someone guilty of molesting children in the past should be allowed to serve as an elder, provided his actions are not known by the congregation? There's always someone who says yes here, and in this case 24 have said yes. Yeah. And again, it's these sort of shocking answers that prove that there are some that there are believing to the point of being fanatical.
That's right.
Witnesses who are taking this survey. Yeah.
That's right. The next question: have you ever been a part of another high control group? I actually think that's a really clever question, because it prompts the thought that you're in a high control group, for one, if you've been a Jehovah's Witness or are a Jehovah's Witness, but you could be susceptible to falling prey to another one.
Yeah, you could be a serial cult follower, couldn't you? It's not inconceivable. 194 there saying yes. This isn't my first. So
no. Then we asked the question on how you would describe your current beliefs. I always find this question quite interesting.
Oh, definitely. I tend to think, and I'm interested to see, because I haven't seen these figures. Usually it's something like 55% no longer believe, either as atheists or agnostics, and maybe 45% believe. And I'm interested to see whether that number has changed.
It's about, I think it might actually be a little bit more now, Lloyd.
Right, okay. Even some Satan worshippers in there.
It's 6.
That will be, let me see, Kimmy O'Donnell, Mark O'Donnell, Arthur Weber. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so
you've got
sorry, go on.
157 that say that they're Jehovah's Witnesses. 21 that say that they're not Jehovah's Witnesses, but they share the same beliefs. 43 that are believers of non-Christian religions. And then you've got those that consider themselves Christian and are either attending church or they're not attached to a church. And then you have everything else. So
yeah, we've basically tried to ask kind of the same, or provide people a number of different ways of answering, because everyone has. The thing is, with religious belief, it's one of those things where people feel very precious about how they personally identify. So I would consider anyone who isn't religious as being an atheist by definition. But you try telling that to everyone who isn't religious. They all have their own ways of describing themselves, including agnostic, including I don't believe anything. Yes. If you added all of these up, which I probably will do at some point, it probably would come to what I said before, 55%.
I'm even going to say I think it's a little bit more than that.
Maybe a bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that that's the right thing. I mean, it's your own journey, and everyone has to decide for themselves. It's just that seems to be the direction that a slight majority go in. But yeah, there are still many who hold on to some form of belief.
Next question: how would you describe your prospects after you die? And it's similar vein to the question before. You still have 196 that believe they'll be resurrected on the earth. Okay. And that they'll live forever. If they're an active JW, 10 people felt that.
I should have put on here, I will become a Force ghost. I didn't think. It just slipped my mind. Because that's how I would now answer that question.
I love it. Might add that in, Lloyd, should we?
If you could fix that for the next survey, please, Sherrie. Do you agree with all present teachings and practices of the Watchtower Society? 45 saying yes, and obviously 99% saying no. Is this where you have the big long one? Oh, yeah. So which of the following teachings, practices? Now, usually, and again, I haven't checked this one, but usually the one that comes out on top is higher education. Does that come out on top again?
Yes, it does. It's 97, nearly 98% that say higher education, but there are some close contenders. Very close behind that one is witnesses who leave are to be shunned. Pedophilia is fractionally behind that, treated as a judicial matter rather than a crime first. There are some really close contenders to that education question, but that one still is at the very top.
Usually towards the bottom, it's stuff like evolution.
Well, that's still getting 78%.
Yeah. What's the least popular?
That probably it is evolution. 78.
Yeah. Usually, because I obviously before you, I was doing this on a yearly basis, and it was nearly always evolution at the bottom.
Yep.
So it's interesting because it's useful to see that there are themes year on year. So no matter how many people take it, and even though we kind of, things move forward and the organization changes, there are still some constants that we can track year on year in the way people
Yes.
are answering these questions, which help to validate, in a way, the responses, because it shows that there's some rhythm here.
Yeah. I do want to add maybe one or two to this list, particularly to cover the organisation's view on homosexuality.
Is that not on there?
No.
I can't believe I left that off.
No.
Oh, okay.
So I want to.
Yeah, that definitely needs to go on.
Yes. We can talk about the wording of it later, but that needs to be added in. I think that's where a lot of the others, please specify. I saw
that definitely needs to be added.
Yeah,
I feel stupid for not adding that. I apologise.
Yeah, so that really is now coming to the very end of the survey. Just refreshing the view here.
So that's where people can give suggestions.
Yes, that's right. And I do go through them as best as I can, although I'm a little daunted by over 1,000 comments. But I will have a look through and see if I can derive some patterns or trends or ones that are most commonly commented on to see what we can do for the following year.
That's basically it now, is it?
That's it.
Okay.
That's the survey.
Wow. Well, what a fascinating document. Again, chilling at times. Some of those answers leaving me thinking I need to go and have a shower. And some genuinely distressing because they're speaking to personal tragedy and inner turmoil, which is to be expected when you have an organization like Jehovah's Witnesses. But also, like, for example, where people were saying that they had since gone on to pursue higher education after leaving. Still, there's some beautiful, it's hinting at positivity in so many different answers as well. Yeah,
that people are by and large happier for leaving, I think is really an important message to get out there. So
absolutely.
The survey is a very good tool, and to tempt people for 2020, if you haven't yet done the 2020 survey, there are 2 new questions in the 2020 survey. We are looking at always tweaking and adding things to make it a more effective tool. So I'm not going to tell you
what is the best whiskey. How should you not use a pillow? Do we have, because I haven't put it in the description yet, usually there's is there like a quick link or like a readily rememberable URL that I can just put on the screen for the survey? Or is it? I guess it's just go to JWsurvey.org, is it?
Yeah. I suppose so. We haven't actually pinned it to the website yet, which we should do. And I still would like to do the usual article, but
I'm talking about the 2020 for people who want to just rush now and do the 2020 survey.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely there. There's a URL on the JW Survey website.
Hang on, let me just see if I can find it now. Talk amongst yourselves, everyone.
Yeah, we'll just quickly do a little.
Oh yeah, there we are.
There it is.
Copy link address. Here we go. I'm making it look so effortless.
You
can hardly
really
tell. I'm like someone who's taking a quiz and Googling the answers. No one can even tell that my eyes are darting around and that my fingers are tapping away.
I watched the last one too. It's so clearly cheating.
Anyway, that's what you need to type into your browser of choice.
Yeah.
surveymonkey.com/r/JWsurvey 2020 for if you want to take part in the 2020 survey, which is open for the remaining 17, is it, days of December?
Like that. Yeah, there's not too much left. And I'm on SurveyMonkey now. We've had so far 2,198 responses.
I think given how busy the team has been this year, we mentioned before about you doing the work on the truth about the truth. I think if we can get to kind of half the 2019 figures for 2020 and then just hit the ground running with the 2021 survey. So some of you taking the 2020 survey will be asked again in just a few weeks to take the 2021 survey.
Yeah.
But it's just useful to be able to compare the way people are answering from year to year. And hopefully it's a valuable tool for people, because you saw in the when people were commenting on what's been most influential in getting you out of the organization or in waking up, one of the things was JWsurvey.org.
Yes.
And so
yes.
it's nice to think that just that process of being challenged by questions you weren't expecting can just plant a few seeds, you know?
Yeah, no, I think it's incredibly useful for several reasons. So I'm glad that you've put the survey out there in 2011, Lloyd, and that we keep it going, because it really is serving multiple purposes.
Indeed. And thank you for your hard work on it as well, Sherrie. And thank you for sharing those insights as well. It's we got there in the end.
We did.
That was really interesting. So thank you so much to the currently 350 plus who are watching. John Cypress says, interesting survey and good job to all. Grace Amos says, thank you, Lloyd and Sherrie. Vida Pimo, I want to take the survey.
Please
saying that
do.
with quite a lot of emphasis, quite a lot of enthusiasm. Well done, Eric. Yes, let's share that link around. Post it on Facebook, post it on Twitter. Let's get as many results in for 2020 while we can
really
as possible.
great.
And thanks to all those who have tuned in for this live stream. But that's all we have for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the Lloyd Evans channel for more such videos. And as always, thank you for watching. Thanks so much, Sherrie.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.